everybody. So today we're just going to look at how we're going to work on our embroidery for the front of our bib of our apron. So what I've done is I've taken my fabric and I've taken a photograph of the teddy bear, and then I took it, so I had a big photograph and it came out and it was obviously a colour photograph with the teddy bear on there. You can choose whichever animal you want, but you can obviously, if you're using different fabric, that would work on whatever you're working. And then I took, once the photograph was out, so then I took some greaseproof paper, put it over the photograph, and I traced all the lines out of where I wanted it to be. So what I did when I printed it, instead of printing it at 100%, I printed it at different sizes, the photograph, and I worked out the size which the front of my bib was going to be, because for my 4-year-old, so you can work out whatever the size of your bib is, and that's the size you want your pattern to be and your photo to be. So I just mucked around with it. You don't have to print it in colour either. You can print it in black and white if you would prefer. You know, use whatever you like for your design. Lots of people online do give away free embroidery designs, so that's somewhere else you could look. Okay, so you've got your pattern. It's all printed there. Get rid of that one. Now if you've got a light box, this would be brilliant. You could use your light box. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to take it and we want to put it inside this hoop, and it just about does fit the fabric inside this hoop, but when you look at your little piece of fabric thing here, that wouldn't fit in. Okay, so I'm going to want to make sure that everything I do within my design is going to be on this side. So I'm going to take a piece of my fabric here, and the reason we haven't cut it out already, I've got a bit of a mark there so I don't use that bit, is it's much easier if you've got a larger piece to go inside your hoop. Can you see? So I've got a larger piece of fabric there, and when I cut this out you'll see that I've got plenty of fabric for to get inside there, and I can get that nicely inside my hoop. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my window. I'm going to tape this to the window with some masking tape. I'm going to place my piece of fabric over the top like so, and then I'm going to trace all the way round with my special pen. All right, so I'll just go all the way over. You can pin it in place and tape it all over, or if you can see it, I can pretty much see mine here, then you can just use that. So I'm going to go all the way over that, pin that in place, and I'm going to trace around it. As I say, if it's not coming out nice and bright, you can go over the lines with like a Sharpie or something like that, but a very fine line one, and then you can trace it just on the table like that, or you can stick it to the window. So I'm going to go ahead and just trace it like that. I'm just going to grab some pins, and this will take a while, so I don't expect you'll want to just watch me tracing it, so I will just show you how I'll start off. Now what I did was I picked out all the features which I thought were most important to go on it. I'm not a massively fantastic embroiderer. I do my best, but I do like doing stuff like this. So I'm just going to come along with the pencil, and this is a chalk pencil. I'll have the link to it on the bottom underneath this video. When you go into the YouTube channel, you'll find there's a little grey box down there, and I'll put all the links to all the things which I use for making this dress into it, this apron, sorry, into it. So I'm just going to come around. I'm going to trace every single thing all the way around onto my pattern like that. Go over and do all the little bits. Okay, so hopefully that will give you an idea of what I'm going to do. I'll go around and I'll trace the rest of it, and then we'll come back and we'll start working on our embroidery. Good morning. So here we are with we've got our pattern all drawn out, just as we've done. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to be using. So what I've used for this is I've used my pencil, which is a chalk pencil. I'll put a link for that down underneath. I've got a reasonably big needle, and the reason for that is I like to have a big head on, a big opening on it. I don't know if you can see that opening. It's got quite a big eye in it there. Okay, it's up to you what size needle you use. I've got some embroidery threads. I've got a slightly darker brown and a lighter brown. I'm going to use a teeny weeny bit of red, hardly anything at all. I've used a little bit of green and a little bit of blue. So it all depends really what you're going to be using. So if you decide to go with this fabric, say you might decide the badger, so you'd go for the badger and he would obviously be different colours and that sort of thing. You can also go for a different fabric. So if you're making it and you want to do something different, you could do something like this and do it, and then you just take your photograph of the fairy, and then you'd blow it up to the size you want it, and then you could just draw the outline. That's all I've done, just like you would in a colouring book. Okay, you just go literally around the outside and pick up just the very outside of it, and if there's any bits inside that you really wanted, like to put the necklace in, you could add that with a bracelet and maybe these bits, but the rest of it you're just basically coming around and just drawing that very, very outside line. Okay, then I put it onto my computer and I enlarged it to 200%, and this is the size I got. You will have to work out what you want it to be for your particular embroidery, because obviously it's going to be whatever size your panel is going to be. So if your panel, say, is this size, you're going to want a bear which is sort of fits in the middle. But if you've only got a tiny panel like that, then obviously that one would be too big. So just have a little play with it. You can also go to libraries and places like that, or printing shops, and they will get you the right size that you want. They'll be able to work it out for you, and it's very cheap. I think like less than £1 to get that done. Okay. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. The other thing that you're going to need would be a hoop. You don't have to have one of these. It helps, but you don't have to have it. You can just do it completely flat and have it as flat as this, and it won't matter at all. This will just keep a nice tension on it and make it slightly easier. If you were just starting off and you just want to start it, that's absolutely fine. Just have the fabric like this and just stitch through it like that. If you can afford a hoop, you can use a hoop. Quite often they've got these in charity shops and places like that, or you can get them quite cheaply. You can get little plastic ones quite often, and they come with some fabric and threads and things like that, so that might be more economical for you to buy that. And we've just used a plain cotton fabric here for this. I've not used anything special. I've not used an Aida or anything like that. It's just a very plain cotton fabric. It was 100% cotton though, that one, because it's slightly thicker if you use the 100% cotton. If you're going to use the if you're going to use Polycotton, you might want to put a double layer over it, because Polycotton is quite see-through in comparison to this fabric. Okay, so we've got that, we've got our needle ready, and what we're going to do is going to be really, really basic. If you know how to embroider and you do it, you know, you've done it before and you want to learn different ones, use your own use your skills you've got already, and you know, do whatever you like on it. But I'm just going to do a really, really simple one to start us off. So we've got our threads, and usually you've got 6 strands of thread, and I've cut it about that sort of length, and I don't want it much bigger than that for me, because I tend to get knots and that in it if I have it too long. Take your thread and pull out one of the threads, okay, and just pull that one out. All right, then pull that one so it's straight, because we don't want any tangles getting there, and grab another thread and pull that one out. Okay, then we're going to place these two together. Now some people prefer to do it so that they've got their pieces and they just have one piece and they double it over. I prefer to do it like this, okay? There we go, and then we're going to thread that through our needle. And as I said, that was why I wanted one with a big head, because this is quite bulky to go through. You don't have to use embroidery thread if you'd rather just use ordinary sewing thread. You just make sure that you've got enough, because it's, as you can see, this is slightly thicker than an ordinary thread. Let's grab an ordinary thread. There's the ordinary thread, and you can see this is just a tiny bit thicker, so it lifts it up. So you might need to use 4 strands if you're using that, maybe. Okay, right, so we're going to pop a knot in the end, so put it around my finger twice, pull it down and tuck it under, and then you're going to pull that, make sure that comes down and forms a nice knot, and then trim that very end of that knot off. You don't want anything sticking out, so you've got the tiniest little knot on the end there. Okay, and we're going to start here at the neck, and all we are going to do is come up, do a very small stitch, and you want to keep your stitches roughly the same sort of size. Pull that one through, and then we're going to come up just in front of it, just a tiny little bit. There we go. Bring it up, and then we're going to go back into the end of that stitch, and that is all we're going to do all the way around. And just keep going doing that until you've got all of these side pieces done, and then I will show you what to do when you get onto these longer pieces. Those are just basically one stitch. Actually, I'll show you now, so I can just do that here to show you. I'll just basically, when you get to these long shaggy bits, or if you've got any bits which aren't really just that, the same with the grass and that, we're going to just come in and we're going to just do one long stitch, just like that there. Okay, so I'm going to carry on going around the side, and I think probably what I will do is I will just go and sit down, I'll watch TV or something like that, and carry on and stitch all the way around the outside. Now, if you notice, let's see if I can do it, that your thread is getting to look a bit like this, okay, which it will do, will get tangled, whatever, and you'll find that it's not hanging quite right. You can see that sort of twisted up like that. Just turn your fabric upside down and let it drop like that, and it will untangle itself, okay? Hopefully you can see that's completely untangled itself, because you don't want that tangle in it, because that will just give you a really tight stitch, and then you can just pull it along like that, and that will give you a nice straight stitch. So carry on going all the way around these outside pieces. When you get to the end of your thread, we're going to put it into the back of the stitch, just like that. Come out through the edge, and we're going to just knot it, just as we ordinarily would. There you go, pull that one right down and get a nice tight knot. You can do 2 if you want to. Okay, 1 and another one, twisted that one, and then pull that up and pull it through, and there's your knot. And then you can just snip that off, snip it just outside the end of that knot there, just there, okay, and then do another knot and start again. All right. there it is, our little bear embroidery. So I've done the bear, but you could do any animal, you could do a flower, anything you like at all. Take a photograph, trace around the outside of the photograph, and you've got your lines, and then just fill it in with those really basic stitches. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you would like to like and subscribe, that'd be fantastic, and hit that bell and it will give you notifications of whenever I'm going to post a video. I usually post every Friday, so I hope to see you then. Goodbye.